Welcome to Module 6 of our Asbestos Awareness course. In this module, we will explore in more detail some aspects of asbestos work. To repeat our previous clarification, this is an awareness course only, and the information about handling asbestos is solely for your information to help you understand what asbestos specialists working around you are doing and why. It is not intended that you use this information to actually handle asbestos yourself. When talking about asbestos handling, there are some general rules and conditions that must be followed. First, if you unexpectedly encounter material that you think might be asbestos, you must not work with it until you either have the proper precautions in place or tests show that it is in fact not asbestos. Also, when doing asbestos work in a building with a ventilation system, turn off the system and seal the openings till the work is complete. The last thing you want to do is to get asbestos out from inside the ventilation ducts and machinery. Lastly, asbestos activities in general will require a changing and washing area. While this can be a washroom, you must consider the decontamination aspects of this room. Thick plastic drop sheets will also often be used. And asbestos handling is a very wasteful process. Any drop sheets, barriers, portable enclosures, essentially anything used to contain asbestos, must not be reused unless they are rigid and can be cleaned thoroughly. Those general rules aside, there are many different ways to classify asbestos work. Ontario uses a Type 1, 2, 3 classification, as does Manitoba and Prince Edward Island. Alberta, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, and the federal government use a low, moderate, high risk scale. These two systems follow the same idea and differ only in details. The other provinces do not classify asbestos work according to risk. As this is an awareness course, we will not be getting into the fine details of these classifications. However, for illustration purposes, we will highlight some of the rules from Ontario, as its Type 1, 2, 3 system is widely used. In this way, learners can gain appreciation of the activities and their risk levels. To make this discussion more understandable, I want to introduce a new term. The Ontario rules often refer to breaking, cutting, drilling, abrading, grinding, sanding, and vibrating asbestos. To make the following discussion a little easier to follow, I will refer to all of these actions as simply working. And for simplicity, I will refer to asbestos-containing materials as simply asbestos. Now, Type 1 activities, called low risk in other provinces, have the lowest potential for asbestos exposure. These activities include removing less than 1 square meter of drywall when asbestos joint filling compound was used, or installing or removing less than 1 square meter of friable asbestos ceiling tiles, so long as you do not work them. Look at other materials other than ceiling tiles. If the asbestos is non-friable, then any amount can be installed or removed, again, so long as you do not work them. And you can work any amount of non-friable asbestos, such as floor tiles, so long as you use non-powered hand tools and wet the material first. All of these activities are Type 1, or low risk. Type 2, or moderate risk, is the largest list of activities. Here you can remove or install an unlimited number of ceiling tiles and amount of drywall. It is also here where you can remove false ceilings upon which asbestos may have fallen. For instance, ceilings below girders that have been sprayed with asbestos fire insulation, as small amounts of this insulation often falls off. Type 2 also includes disturbing less than 1 square meter of asbestos during machinery repair. And recalling our discussion about asbestos handling options, enclosing friable asbestos or covering asbestos insulation with tape or sealants are also Type 2. In type 2, you can even work non-friable asbestos, such as asbestos wallboard, so long as you either wet the material and use non-powered hand tools, or use power tools that are attached to HEPA filters. You can clean or remove air filters that may have trapped asbestos dust, and remove pipe insulation using a glove bag. Lastly, there is a catch-all. Any activity that is not explicitly listed in any type is included in Type 2 by default. Now, I just mentioned removing pipe insulation with a glove bag. But what is a glove bag? Glove bags are special plastic bags with built-in gloves. When wrapped around a pipe, as shown on the slide, the worker can reach inside and pull the asbestos insulation off the pipe without releasing fibers to the general air. This is a specialized technique that is not used that often. Type 3 activities carry the highest risk. Here you can remove any amount of asbestos during repair. You can apply sealants or encapsulants, and you can maintain all parts of air handling equipment that may have been exposed to asbestos. You can use power tools to work the asbestos, even though the tools have no dust collection systems. And you can repair, alter, or demolish buildings or equipment that was used or contained asbestos. I want to add one note here from my own experience with asbestos removal projects. I've seen contractors quote Type 3 precautions for Type 1 or Type 2 activities. Most commonly, these are removing floor tiles, which is Type 1, or removing drywall, which is Type 2. While the Type 3 procedures are quite safe if followed, they increase the client's costs unnecessarily. Also, while billing for Type 3 precautions, I've rarely seen contractors build or use these precautions properly. It thus falls on the building owner to be alert to what is needed. We have noted that Type 1 activities are the lowest risk, so what precautions are needed to manage these low risks? Beyond personal protective equipment, which we will discuss in the next module, you will need a water source so that the asbestos can be wetted, and so that workers can wash up afterwards. The workers will also use plastic drop sheets to cover the floor, and need special waste disposal bags. Beyond that, no barriers or containment systems are needed. Type 2 activities carry on the Type 1 precautions, but add warning signs and possibly heavily equipped tools and enclosures. Recalling from our recent discussions that working non-friable asbestos is a Type 2 activity if using power tools that are attached to HEPA filters, this video illustrates what Type 2 precautions actually look like.
If you need to drill into asbestos to run cables or ducting, there are several things you will need before starting work, including a non-powered hand drill or a low-speed battery-powered drill. Battery-powered drills should be fitted with local exhaust ventilation, or LEV, dust control hood wherever possible. Disposable cleaning rags or wet wipes. Wet wipes are used in this video. A misting spray bottle filled with water. Adhesive duct tape. Sealant. Heavy-duty plastic sheeting, minimum 200 microns thick. Asbestos labelled heavy-duty polyethylene asbestos disposal bags, minimum 200 microns thick. A HEPA filtered H-class industrial vacuum cleaner, and PPE and RPE as described in the PPE video. Segregate your work area. Tell people you're working there and put up warning signs and barrier tape. Set up the asbestos work area with heavy-duty plastic sheeting to cover any surface that could come contaminated. If drilling outdoors, avoid working in windy environments where asbestos fibres can blow around. If you're drilling a hole into ACM sheeting, tape the point to be drilled and the exit point, if you can, to prevent the edges from crumbling. Use a low-power drill with local exhaust ventilation. These are reasonably inexpensive and attached to the H-class industrial vacuum cleaner and your drill to prevent the release of asbestos fibres. If you can't get one of these, then shadow vacuuming is the next best option, followed by gels and pastes. Once you have drilled through the tape, use wet wipes to clean off the drill bit and any debris off the wall. Dispose of the wet wipes as asbestos waste, as they will contain asbestos dust and fibres. Seal the edges or where you have cut with the sealant. If you are passing a cable through, insert a sleeve to protect the inner edge of the hole.
And that's a quick summary of some of the precautions for Type 2 when drilling a hole using an asbestos material. Now, Type 3 activities, of course, have the highest risk. They maintain the water and sign requirements, but now require a full enclosure. That enclosure must be physically attached to the work and have 3 separate compartments. One dirty change room where workers can take off their asbestos-contaminated coveralls and other gear. A shower facility in the middle, and a clean room or change room where workers can put on their street clothes. The idea, of course, is that workers would go through all 3 rooms, never entering or leaving the worksite. This schematic shows what a Type 3 enclosure should look like. You can see the dirty and clean rooms and the shower in the middle, along with a parallel path below those rooms through which the asbestos waste is cleaned and removed. This slide shows what a typical Type 3 asbestos enclosure looks like in practice. The higher the risk level, the more important air sampling becomes to monitor the effectiveness of the precautions. This sampling commonly involves a portable pump that sucks air through a filter. The filter can either be attached to the worker, as shown on the slide, or suspended from a tripod or similar apparatus to assess the work in air in general. The filter is most often analyzed using phase contrast microscopy, or PCM, although sometimes transmission electron microscopy, or TEM, can be used. In the common PCM method, the filter is wetted and becomes transparent. The wet slide is then placed under microscope, and a technician counts the fibers seen in the measured area. This is a typical PCM slide. I invite you to pause the video and see how many fibers you can count. Don't forget the very small ones. Air sampling rules vary by province. In Ontario, air samples must be taken at the end of a Type 3 activity. These are always taken inside the enclosure and, for TEM, outside as well. In both cases, air is blown around inside the enclosure during sampling, as shown on the slide, to dislodge any loose fibers so that they can be measured. While many contractors often take just 1 sample, the rules require between 2 and 5. In Ontario, the pass mark varies by method. With PCM, the pass mark is 0.01 fibers of asbestos per cubic centimeter of air. For the more sensitive TEM method, the site passes if the asbestos concentration inside the enclosure is less than or equal to the concentration outside. And this concludes our discussion of classes of asbestos work. I invite you now to move to Module 7, where we will discuss personal protective equipment requirements.